Good day, viewers. My name is Father Emmanuel Eseola from the Catholic House of Ibadan. I welcome you again to our Bible study. Today we'll be going through Genesis chapter 1 and 2. If you have not hit the like button, please do hit the like button right away. Thank you very much. First, we'll attempt a summary of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, a quick summary. In Genesis chapter 1, God created the heavens and the earth and everything that lives. He made humankind in his image and gave man charge over the earth. In Genesis chapter 2, we see the completion of creation. God rests on the seventh day, and God formed man out of dust. We see the forbidden tree of knowledge, and then we see the creation of woman. Genesis chapter 1 and 2. What do we pick out from Genesis chapter 1? Genesis chapter 1 introduces God, who existed before creation, with no explanation whatsoever, because God is the one who originates everything, yet does not have origin. And any God that can be explained is not worth worshipping. Any God that can be understood is really not worth worshipping. So God is introduced as self-existing, eternal, self-sufficient, with no beginning, and of course, with no end. We see that in Genesis chapter 1. The next, God created the world and all that is in it, the heavens and the earth, the sun, the moon, and the billions of stars, and the earth, the land, the sea, and all the vegetations and all animals. God created all this. Some say these creations come by theory, by evolution. Well, Genesis says God created this. And because God created all these things, God has supreme authority and sovereignty over every of this creation. That is, God then is the Lord of creation. Life also comes from God. That's another thing Genesis chapter 1 makes clear to us. John, the Gospel of John chapter 1 tells us that through him all things came into being, and there was nothing that came into being except through him. And in Genesis chapter 2 verse 9 we're told that God breathed into the nostrils the breath of life. So actually life comes from God. God is life himself. Another thing we see immediately in the book of Genesis chapter 1 is that God is a relational being. He created man and he formed a relationship with man. He created him in his image and in his likeness. He gave man a higher dominion, or he gave man a higher status over all other creation. And because God formed man in his image and likeness, it is evident that man is different from every other creature. And also, with some attributes we see in man, we see God. Peace, joy, love, kindness, long-suffering. These are attributes that man shares. Of course, there are some attributes man can never share with God, like omnipotence. If you put all the parts of this world together, it doesn't come close to the power of God. Like omnipresence, omniscience. All these are attributes we cannot share with God. Another thing we share from God is that we are eternal beings. Our souls cannot be destroyed. And all this we get from the book of Genesis chapter 1. When we go to the book of Genesis chapter 2, God has finished working this 6 days working week, and then he took rest. This was the first mention of the Sabbath rest in the Bible. In this Sabbath rest, God rested out of everything He did, not because God was tired. In fact, John chapter 5 verse 17, Jesus tells us that my Father has been working until now and I have been working. So the Sabbath rest is not an effect of tiredness, but rather a model God has given to us to structure time, a seven-day structure for the week, and also a 6-day working week and 1 rest day. Another thing we see in Genesis chapter 2 is there is mention of work. When God created man and put man in the Garden of Eden, God told man to tend and to keep the garden. Some people opine that we working is as a result of sin. No, that is wrong. Our working is part of our authentic existence. There is dignity in work. There is beauty in work. It is true that suffering came through sin. Someone can work and suffer, but there's no difference. There's the difference between suffering and work. What God intended was for us to tend and to keep the garden. It is after the sin that we were to till the garden. So work is part of man's existence, and work is good for man because God Himself is working. In Genesis chapter 2 also, we see the first marriage. Here, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 31, when God saw all that He had made, God said it was very good. But for the very first time, God saw something not good in creation. In fact, it says it was not good that man should be alone. So the aloneness of man is not good. And God fashioned a woman for man as a suitable helpmate. And this happened immediately after man had named other animals. He must have been naming other animals, and there probably would have been none who was close to be a helpmate for him. The chimpanzee and the monkey, they said they are high in intelligence, but the chimpanzee and the monkey are not suitable helpmates for man. What does this teach us? That there's no other form of companionship in marriage that is suitable for man than a woman. So it means all these philosophies and other ideologies, they do not have their roots in the scriptures, and they negate the authentic design of God for man. When a man leaves his house to marry another man, when a man leaves his house to marry another dog, this is not rooted in the scripture. Genesis chapter 2 makes that very clear. Also, when God caused Adam to sleep, He took Eve from the side. St. Augustine makes it clear to us that is a symbol of equality. The man was taken from the side and not from the head and not from the feet. It's a sign of equality in marriage and the dignity of the woman. And even man himself proclaims that. He says, at last, the bone of my bones, the flesh of my flesh. So in marriage, there is this equality and this coexistence that must be. So that is it for Genesis chapter 1 and 2. I'm sure we've had our lessons for Genesis chapter 1 and 2. For the next video, I'd like us to look into Genesis chapter 3 and 4, and thereafter we'll continue in our study of the book of Genesis. May God continue to bless us as we go about our work. Don't forget to hit the like button. Cheers.